Hi everyone, my name is Chelsea. Welcome to Little Mountain Ranch. I'm really happy to have you here with me today, where we are going to head down to the garden. Even though it's a little rainy and a little chilly this morning, we are going to do some harvesting because things need to be harvested when they need to be harvested. And there's a bunch of stuff. There's green beans down there, a whole bunch of them that are ready to pick. There is, of course, pickling cucumbers because those just never seem to end this year. It's the year of the pickling cuke. I've got a bunch. Oh no, look at this. Oh no. Can you guys see that? Those are birds eating my corn. Oh no. Okay, let's go over and see what they've done. I only planted a tiny little patch of corn this year, and looks to me like potentially the blackbirds have already gotten to them. This is the first I've seen of blackbirds in the garden outside of on the sunflowers. They always come through every year and munch on the sunflowers, which is fine by me. I have not seen them on the corn. Let's see. Well, I don't see any corn that's been peeled off on the top. That's what the blackbirds usually do. Nope, not seeing any damage on the corn. I think they might just be actually eating off the top of these, which is fine by me. Normally with popcorn, you leave them on the stalk until this is dyed back, and this is all brown too. So we're probably not going to get a long enough season for that to happen. So most likely, most of this corn is going to go to the chickens. I have a couple more cabbages that I need to get out of the garden, and I can see my big winter cabbages are splitting. So we've had a ton of rain in the last couple of days, and we've got split cabbage there. So I'm going to pull all of these cabbages out and get them cleaned up and probably just blanch and freeze them. Actually, I do have a root cellar, and there was one year that I was really successful storing cabbage in my root cellar. I think almost 6 months they lasted down there, but the last 2 years, and I think it might just be because it's been really warm late into the autumn, I haven't had good luck storing them down there. So I'd rather just get these out of the garden, get them blanched and frozen, and then I can use those in recipes throughout the winter. We also have a few little broccoli heads here that we may as well pull off and get blanched and frozen. There's our garden ducks. Hey guys. So the rest of this stuff that's in the garden, all of the root vegetables like the beets here, I have golden beets, cylindra beets. We have our turnips over here, and then of course all of the onions and the carrots and all of that. These can stay in the garden until it gets a little bit cooler, and then I'll be pulling them and putting them in the root cellar. All of this celery here we could actually pick, but I'm going to leave it just a little bit longer just because I have a lot of other stuff to get preserved today. So probably give this another week before I pull these out and freeze dry them for winter soups, which is primarily what I use celery for. I already mentioned the pickling cukes. Oh, I did want to show you this. This was an unexpected surprise, a very welcome surprise, I must say. Can you guys see all of the pumpkins down here? Look at them all. We've got, so that one's a Cinderella pumpkin, as is that one, that little one there, and then these ones right here, just growing back to back. I've never seen Cinderella pumpkins do that before. Then we have a big Dill's Atlantic that's growing in here. So I think what I might do is, oh, look at that, that's growing right into it. I think I might actually cut this off, this branch here, and pull this little, oh dear. Ooh, this one's actually soft. I wonder why that happened. That's weird. Maybe just because of the weight of this Dill's Atlantic growing here, it pushed against it. Yeah, that's what it looked like happened. And then the nutrients couldn't actually feed it anymore. So that one will go to the chickens, but all the rest of these pumpkins, I'm very excited about. I did not expect to get any, really. It was just too cold this spring. And then over here, we have even more Cinderella pumpkins, and I'm very happy about that because the Cinderella pumpkin is one of my favorite pumpkins to grow, and we have lots and lots of them. We have another Dill's down there. So if nothing else, we'll be getting lots of pumpkins to turn into some canned pumpkin to make pumpkin pies in the winter. So that's great news. Like I mentioned in my last video, I don't think it's going to be a great year for squash this year, but the fact that we're getting some pumpkins is very exciting. What we'll do first, since we're by the green beans, is get some green beans picked, and then we'll go down to the high tunnel and I'll show you what we need to do down there. So here is my little green bean patch here. Let's look at how the green beans are looking. I've got quite a few in there to pick. So we'll get these all picked and then, like I said, head down to the high tunnel. So we ended up butchering a couple of the cows yesterday. So we have an awesome butcher who comes out to the farm to do our larger animals. Dan and I have both done cows and pigs before ourselves, but especially this time of year, we're just so busy that we don't have time, and we also don't have a place to hang our beef. So normally beef will hang for at least a couple of weeks. It just increases the tenderness of it and the flavor. And we don't have a place to do that here. So our butcher comes out here and does the kill here on our property, which Dan and I really like because it always stresses animals a lot to put them in trailers and then take them somewhere unfamiliar. So we do that, and then he brings the meat back to his butcher shop and does all the cutting up, or like the hanging, the chilling, and the cutting up there, which is fantastic. So we did 2 steers yesterday, and which is awesome because now we're going to have freezers full of beef. And I don't know if you've been paying attention to beef prices lately, but they are crazy expensive. I had my grandson here yesterday, and when my kids came to pick him up, they were telling me that they had gone grocery shopping for just a couple of days worth of groceries, and it was over $200. That's in Canadian dollars, but it was just ridiculously expensive. Whenever my kids come home, they joke about the fact that I always send them home with food. I usually feed them when they're here and then send them home with food for their freezers. So that's partly what we're going to do with some of this beef, is to pass it on to our adult kids that are now living on their own. It's one of the things that I really love to be able to do for my kids, is helping them, number one, with just really good quality food, but also with their grocery bills, because my goodness, I honestly don't even know how they're doing it with it being so expensive. Just housing and all the things, right? Okay, I'm going to get to getting all these picked. I'll be back with you when I'm done and show you what I have, and then we'll go down to the high tunnel. We're all fogged up in the high tunnel this morning. Nice and warm in here. So I'm not sure if I showed you guys this last time, but these are the wooden stakes that I am putting up along my peppers here. And then I'm going to use baling twine to basically make supports for these pepper plants that are falling over. I explained last time that because pepper plants are very fragile, when they fall over, these branches can break off really easily. So we don't want that to happen. Many of you on that video talked about using tomato cages for peppers. And that thought has never really occurred to me because my peppers have never been this big. So this is not a problem that I am familiar with. Next year I might do that though, is actually put individual cages. So I'm just going to get these all hammered in, and then baling twine, which is a farmer's best friend, is going to be what we're going to use to hold them up. One of my sons is going to come and hammer these in for me, because yesterday when I was getting up into a tractor, I grabbed onto it and pulled myself up really quickly and tweaked something in this wrist. So annoying. Doing stuff like that. Injuries like that definitely tend to happen more the older you get. But so we're going to get those stakes put in. I'll be back with you in a sec. Thank goodness for good, strong young men. So now I am going to tie this twine on here and then run it down and go underneath these. I want to be careful so I don't end up breaking them. And then up like so. And I'll wrap it a couple times around there. Whoops. and then on to the next one. I may need to put 2 lines up on these really heavy ones, but I think it's going to work well. Okay, that is definitely much better. They're held up, and over on this side the same. So that's good. Now hopefully they won't break. And now we need to harvest our next round of tomatoes. So several of you shared with me on my last video when I was talking about how I like to vine ripen my tomatoes, that where you live you can't do that, because as soon as they start getting a blush on them, they end up getting attacked by bugs. So you need to pick them off when they are just starting to blush and ripen them inside. I sympathize, friends. That would be very frustrating, I can imagine. Where we live, there are definitely a lot of challenges growing in such a short growing season, growing where our nighttime temperatures are so cold, all the way throughout the summer. Not cold, but cool. But one of the things we don't have here is a lot of bug pressure, and I'm very grateful for that. So let's see what we can get with tomatoes, picking all those red ones. So at this stage of the game, most of the tomatoes that we are getting off right now, look at that pretty one. What was that one called? Let's see. Golden. That's an appropriate name, isn't it? Anyway, most of the tomatoes that I am picking right now, we are just eating fresh. It's not going to be long before I'm going to have to start doing processing small batches. We are going to be doing our big, huge tomato canning day, which I know you guys really enjoyed coming along with us last year when we did that. And that's where we order a bunch of tomatoes from a farm that is a few hours south of here. We can get tomatoes in bulk for a really good price from them. I can't grow enough tomatoes for our needs in this high tunnel. I would need another high tunnel in order to do that, which is the goal one day. But in the meantime, I certainly don't mind supporting other growers and buying my tomatoes. So normally we do around 500 pounds of purchased tomatoes, and then whatever we end up getting out of here. I do plan on getting an estimate for weight out of the tomatoes that we get out of the high tunnel. I think it'll be a couple 100 pounds at least. I have a ton of peppers that I could pick as well, but the nice thing about peppers is they can be left on the vine for quite some time, because they'll hit different stages of ripening that offer different flavors. For instance, green tomatoes are immature of whatever color they're going to be if they were fully ripened, like red or yellow or orange or whatever. So they can stay on. I'm hoping to get some red peppers this year, but the tomatoes cannot stay on the vine because they will just end up rotting. Okay, I think that's it for this side. A little bit of beautiful tomatoes here. Aren't those gorgeous? As far as all of the varieties of tomatoes and all the other things I grow in my garden, I am going to put together a list for you. Where am I going to put it? I'll probably share it on my newsletter, and then I'll make a blog post over on the blog so that there's a place that you can reference back to it if you would like to see, because I know a lot of you that live in shorter growing seasons would like to know the varieties that I grow, because most of them do fairly well here in the north. If you do sign up for my newsletter, there is a link down below, and just make sure that you do click on the email that you get to confirm your subscription, because up in Canada here we have something called a double opt-in, which means that you have to say you want it twice. So you sign up for it and then you have to click approve, because I know there's quite a few people that have signed up for my newsletter and aren't actually getting it, and it's because of that double opt-in. So just make sure that you click on that second email and click that you do want to subscribe. And I send out a newsletter every Friday, pretty much every Friday. I try to send tips, tricks, recipes, sometimes just to catch you up on what we've been up to that week. But people seem to really enjoy them. So if you do want to sign up, click that link below, and then you'll get that seed list when I get it out. Should be probably the end of September. I think I'll get that list for you guys. So I'm going to close the high tunnel because it's cool enough out here that we can leave it closed. And quick update on my bees. So excited about this. I went in yesterday to check because if you'll remember back, I lost a queen in one of my hives. And how I knew that I lost a queen was because I went in and there was no brood at all, like no baby bees whatsoever to be found. And my friend Winston from BC Bee Supply sent me a queen. Thank goodness he had some. I was so grateful. And I installed her a couple weeks ago, and then I just checked yesterday to see if there was brood. And there was. I was so incredibly excited. So my hope now is that they will be able to build up a strong enough hive with enough bees to be able to stay warm throughout the winter. So I'm going to start feeding them right now, and I'm going to feed them straight through until they can't pack any more honey in there. My preference is always to just leave honey for the bees that they've harvested all summer. But because these were nukes that I just got 6 weeks ago now, they haven't had a lot of time to put up their own honey. So if I feed them some syrup, some sugar syrup now, then they'll hopefully be able to pack away enough honey to make it through the winter. So what I'm looking for is the top box. So the bottom box is the brood box, and that's where the queen's laying her eggs and making all the babies. And the top box is the honey super, and that we want full. That's usually around 60 pounds of honey. We want that full so that the bees can make it through the winter. So I'm just so happy that at least at this point, we do have a laying queen. All right, now we'll bring these tomatoes over here, and then we will collect up whatever else we have left to get in here. Okay, so I think I'm going to pull off all of these, anything that is usable here, and the rest of them will let go to flower for the bees. The bees love these. Oh, I need to grab these cabbages too. Sometimes I think to myself, oh, I'll just go out to the garden and just pick a few things. And then I get out here and I end up filling an entire wheelbarrow full of produce and then having to spend the rest of the day getting everything preserved. I don't think I'll end up canning. Most of this will just be simple stuff like blanching the broccoli and getting that put into either the freeze dryer or the freezer, and then chopping up and blanching the cabbage. So it'll be pretty easy to do. So I most definitely have more pickling cucumbers to pick in here. And I'm just kind of thinking, because I think what I'm going to do with the pickling cucumbers at this point is just grate them up and freeze them, and I'll use them to make tzatziki in the winter. But I'm definitely done making pickles. We made another 12 quarts of bread and butter pickles yesterday. We did some pickled, what did we do? Pickled cabbage yesterday too. And I'll make sure that I do another batch and share that with you in the next couple of weeks. We have a whole bunch of recipes. I was just putting a list together of all the rest of the stuff that I need to can this year. And I think there was 17 more recipes that we need to do in order for me to feel like the pantry is nice and loaded for winter. So there'll be lots more canning content coming up. But we definitely have enough pickles. There's just no question about that. So I think I'll just leave those in there for another day. Is there anything else that we need to pick in here? I don't think so. All of the beans, so that's a good batch of beans. We should be able to probably freeze a bunch of those. I'll blanch and freeze, and then I'm going to can up a couple of pints of them as well. And I wanted to give you an update on our spinach that we planted here. So this is for some spinach that I can blanch and freeze and put into the freezer. Blanch and freeze, obviously, put into the freezer. But this is one of the only things that I usually plant in August because it can handle quite a bit of frost. And I actually think that having this wall of flowers is going to protect it a little bit, because oftentimes we get the cold temperatures kind of roll in on this side of the garden up from the hay meadow, because of course the cold air sinks and that's a little bit lower there and then rolls up over here. And I think that this is going to help protect them a little bit. So I got this little section right here weeded last night, and then it started to rain. So I have the rest of the row to do yet, but hopefully we'll get a nice crop of spinach. Okay, I just need to grab our bowl of beans here, put that in the wheelbarrow and get the wheelbarrow up to the house, and then figure out what we're gonna do with all this stuff. Okay, before we take all this stuff up to the house, I actually would like to pick some flowers because we have some company coming to stay in the Bunky, and I want to put a bouquet of flowers up there. So let's get that done, and I'll take you up to the Bunky for those of you that haven't seen it before. It's such a cute little building. Hey Alex, how you doing? Good girl. I felt like our bouquet needed a little bit of white too, so I picked some Shasta daisies to go in it. So I just need to run up and grab a vase for these. I'm actually just going to use a mason jar, and we'll bring them up to the Bunky. So the story behind this little cabin, it's called a Bunky, and it's made by Bunky Life here in Canada, although they do ship into the United States as well. And we got it last October, and I want to say it took Dan, he said around 40 hours or so to build it, and he did it on his own. But he said there was a little bit of extra time in there because he did an insulated roof and an insulated floor. We both think that they are a really, really great option for guest cabins, which is the reason we have ours. And eventually we would like to do like farm stay type Airbnb sort of thing. Being able to have a little cabin like this, even if you have very minimal building experience, in about a week is really fantastic, and they're so cute. So this one is the Haven Ultra. It has a loft, and the loft sticks out by a couple of extra feet, so there's a lot more space upstairs than there is downstairs. So let me show you. Let's put our flowers right there. That looks pretty. Okay, so this is the main floor here. So we have this was a kitchen island that we bought, but it works perfectly for just a little coffee spot for our company. Coffee, salt and pepper, stuff to wash with. Actually, I need to bring that out so I can spray everything off. This was such a great find. We got this at a local furniture store, and it's perfect for eating snacks, for doing computer work. I actually do some of my calls for my membership community from here because it's nice and quiet. Up here, some towels there, place to put your shoes, these big, beautiful windows that open right up. And then this is how we get up to the loft. And this is just so cute up here. Nice and spacious. We have a little TV and a lamp there. And our company has all said that this is a really, really nice, cozy place to sleep. Very comfortable. It smells really good in here because of all the wood, and it's very quiet and peaceful. I always get asked about what people do for a bathroom. So Bunky Life does have a bathroom add-on that you can get, which we may potentially do. For now, we just are doing an outhouse out that way. For bathroom facilities. But what we would eventually like to do is to build a common house that has a kitchen, a bathroom, and a laundry. And so that eventually I can do farm classes and canning classes down in that building. Our long-term goal, and we're definitely long-term planning people, is to build a common house where we have a kitchen, a laundry, and a bathroom with a shower. Down over here by where the travel trailer is, because we have a septic down there. There was a house there originally that burned down, but the septic is still there and still totally functional. The whole idea of having classes here on the farm, we want to wait until our youngest is well into her teen years before we do that. But that's not that far away. Time flies so fast. So we're always taking little steps towards our big long-term goals here on our property. And this Bunky here is kind of one of the first steps towards that, because this is a place that we can house people when they come to do classes here. If you are interested in exploring a Bunky, I'm going to put a link down in the show notes for you so you can go over and check out their website. Keep in mind their prices are in Canadian dollars, so if you're in the States, they're going to be even less expensive. They're really not pricey for what you get. And if you buy through us, so if you contact Bunky and you let them know that you're buying through us, you'll get an additional $500 off. So all you have to do to claim that is to email me directly, and my email is down in the show notes as well. Definitely can recommend these though. I would love to have a whole bunch of them on the property one day. So I'm just going to give everything a wipe down in here, grab the sheets from up there, get those in the wash, and then what are we gonna do? Then we're gonna go down and do a bunch of work in the kitchen. So I'll meet you back down there when I'm done up here. Right, we are back in the kitchen. We have all of those beans. This is a mix of green and yellow beans, and these have all been cut, the ends cut off, and then cut into sort of even sized pieces. So the plan with these is I am going to pressure can a few quarts of them. I've talked before about how pressure canned green beans are not my favorite thing in the world, but I have some friends in the LMR community who have convinced me that I just need to give them another go, and I need to cook them in a certain kind of way. So we're gonna can them just like you would normally with just a little bit of salt and water, and then we're going to make some recipes out of them come probably late autumn. I don't like to dig into my canning in my pantry that I canned up during the summer until after October 1st. It's kind of a rule I have for myself. So we'll be waiting till after October 1st to try these. I also have all of our cabbage cleaned up here. So I'm gonna do two different things with these. We are gonna blanch all of the cabbage because it's always a good idea to blanch your cabbage before either you freeze dry it or you freeze it, and we're gonna be doing both of those things. We are going to freeze it into quarter sections, and some of these are pretty large, so we might cut them up a little bit smaller for the freezer, and then we are going to chop the rest up, probably for what I would use for soup, and freeze dry that. So I have 4 trays in my freeze dryer. I actually have my freeze dryer full right now that needs to be emptied, and then this will go into there. So first things first though, let's grab our jars and get our kettle going with some hot water. And top our jar off with our beans here. So how do you prefer your green beans? Either not at all, canned, or frozen? I'm definitely team frozen when it comes to beans. I do love having canned food on the pantry shelves. So because green beans are a low acid vegetable, they require being pressure canned. If you do want to water bath green beans, then you need to pickle them. We're just gonna debubble, move extra air out of there that can get trapped. All right, let's lid these up. Let's cut up these gigantic cabbages. I always love the inside of cabbages. It looks like a tree. It's beautiful. So we are going to, I've already cut off anything on here that was kind of yucky. So this was one of the split cabbages. So it's already been cleaned. So what we're gonna do is actually boil this entire thing for a couple of minutes to blanch it. And then we're going to put it into a sink full of really cold water and some ice, which I'll get ready right now. I'm not going to remove the core on these because the core is kind of what's holding all of these leaves together, and I do want it to stay together because I'm going to freeze it whole like that. But if you're going to be chopping it up into smaller pieces, then you can remove that core piece. And you can use these for all kinds of stuff. You can make cabbage rolls with them. That's the nice thing about having the nice big pieces that you're going to get by freezing it quartered like this, or adding it into soup or stew. A couple of days ago, I made a cabbage soup, a borscht here on my channel, which is absolutely delicious. So you can use it for that. Okay, I can fit exactly this one cabbage in this big pot, but that is it. Okay, we're gonna set that for 3 minutes. Grab some ice to put in that sink. Okay, so now we're just gonna put these right in our ice water just to stop them from cooking. So I am going to get to that. I'll be back with you when I am done and show you what we ended up with when we're all done. I think it's going to be pretty awesome, the amount of cabbage that we're gonna end up having preserved with all of these cabbages, because they are good sized cabbages for one, and they're nice and dense. So there's lots of leaves in them, which is wonderful. And the flavor is absolutely delicious. It's so good, even raw, it's really good. And there we go. That's the way my mom always did it. You know, I've actually changed my mind and I've decided I'm gonna deal with all this cabbage first, clean up this space, and then bring up the stuff from the freeze dryer, just because the kitchen is too cluttered for a second thing going on in here. So I'll be back with you as soon as I'm done all this to package up all that stuff from the freeze dryer. Yeah. Good morning, friends. We are on to the next day. We got all of that cabbage bagged up. We ended up with 11 bags of cabbage for the freezer, which is fantastic. And one thing that I didn't mention when I was filming this part is that one of the things that you can do, and this is especially true if you're going to freeze any type of vegetable and you want to only take a little bit out of the bag at a time, you don't want the entire thing, is to do what's called flash freezing, which is just to get a cookie tray, lay all of your veg on the cookie tray, and then freeze it in the freezer until everything is frozen enough that you can take it off and put it into a bag and each piece is separated. Otherwise, if you put it in when it's wet, of course, it will freeze into a solid chunk. I didn't need to do that in this case because they were in big pieces anyway, and I just froze 2 per bag, which we will easily use in a recipe. The other thing that I got done was to jar up the freeze-dried zucchini. So that's what it looks like. And I just decided to put these ones in jars. The other that I've been doing over the last month or so of preserving zucchini, I've been putting into bags with oxygen absorbers for longer term storage. But these I'm gonna just use up probably within the next few months. Green beans over here, and I do have some yellow beans in there as well, as you can see. I just wanted to show you before we go these beautiful hot pads that Elise sent me. Thank you so much. They are beautiful. They match my kitchen perfectly, and they are going to come in very handy when I'm doing multiple tasks in my kitchen, which I usually am, to be able to have places to put all those hot pots. Thank you so much. I just think they're gorgeous. And on that note, my friends, I have a very busy day ahead of me today. I hope that you enjoy your day, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye.